Detective Sarah Mills stood in the doorway of room 213 at the Old Parkview Hotel, her eyes scanning the perfectly made bed and untouched furniture. Nothing seemed out of place, yet 3 people had vanished from this room in the past month. "Tell me again what happened," she asked the hotel manager, Mr. Thompson, who nervously twisted his hands behind her. "It's always the same," he said, his voice shaking. "Guests check in. Everything is normal until midnight. Then other guests report hearing whispers from the room. By morning, the guests are gone, but all their belongings are left behind, just like this." He gestured to the small suitcase by the window and the jacket hanging in the closet. Sarah walked to the window, noting how the old glass distorted the view of the parking lot below. The hotel was a historic building, over 100 years old, with its original fixtures still in place. She ran her fingers along the windowsill, feeling the worn wood beneath her touch. "Who was the last person to disappear?" she asked, turning back to Mr. Thompson. "Miss Rebecca Chen, a businesswoman from Seattle. She checked in 3 days ago." Sarah pulled out her notebook and flipped through her earlier notes. The first disappearance was Michael Roberts, a retired teacher. The second was James Wilson. Now, Rebecca Chen. 3 very different people with seemingly no connection. Has room 213 always been unlucky? Sarah asked. Mr. Thompson shook his head. Never had a problem until last month. It was just a normal room. Sarah's attention was drawn to a small mark on the wall near the bathroom door. Moving closer, she realized it was a tiny symbol carved into the wallpaper, a circle with a cross through it. It looked old, the edges worn smooth with time. "I need the hotel's original blueprints," she said, "and any historical records you have." 2 hours later, Sarah sat in the hotel's dusty archive room, surrounded by yellowed papers and old photographs. Her eyes widened as she found what she was looking for, a newspaper article from 1923. "Hotel maid disappears after uncovering secret," the headline read. The article told the story of Maria Santos, a maid who had discovered something in room 213 that had terrified her. She had tried to warn others about a door that shouldn't be opened before she vanished. Sarah rushed back to room 213, her heart pounding. The symbol she had found it wasn't just a random mark. According to the old papers, it was a warning sign used by the hotel's original staff. She began tapping the walls methodically, listening for hollow spaces. Near the back of the closet, the sound changed. Sarah pressed harder, and with a soft click, a panel swung open, revealing a narrow passage. The beam of her flashlight illuminated steep stairs leading down into darkness. The air that drifted up was cold and damp. Sarah took a deep breath and began her descent. The stairs ended in a small underground room. Her flashlight beam revealed old furniture covered in sheets, and on a table, a leather-bound book. Sarah picked it up carefully, its pages brittle with age. It was a diary belonging to the hotel's original owner, Theodore Parker. As she read, the truth began to emerge. Parker had been obsessed with finding a way to travel through time. He had collaborated with scientists and occultists, conducting experiments in room 213. They had succeeded in creating what Parker called a temporal gateway, but it was unstable, opening randomly at midnight. The diary's final entry warned the gateway was too dangerous to use. Parker had ordered it sealed off, and the room above it marked with the warning symbol. Over time, the story had been forgotten, the symbol's meaning lost. Sarah heard a whisper behind her. The air in the room began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Her watch showed 11:59 p.m. She ran for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Behind her, the whispers grew louder. She burst into room 213 just as her watch struck midnight. The closet wall was glowing with a pale blue light. Sarah slammed the panel shut and pressed her back against it, breathing hard. Now she knew what had happened to the missing guests. They hadn't been murdered or kidnapped. They had been pulled through time. The next morning, Sarah presented her findings to Mr. Thompson and the police. The room was permanently sealed, the passage filled with concrete. The whispers in room 213 were never heard again. But Sarah couldn't help wondering about the missing people. Were they lost in time, or had they found their way to another era? Sometimes, on quiet nights, she imagined she could hear their whispers, carried across the years like echoes in an endless corridor of time. Detective Mills filed her official report, citing structural issues that had been resolved. But in her private notes, she wrote the truth, sealed it in an envelope, and locked it away. Some mysteries, she decided, were better left as whispers.